Good afternoon, everyone. And Alison, thank you for the introduction. And I must say, it's quite standard to have such high-achieving people from Kilmagany. As introduced, my name is Bryan Daniels. I'm a 2023 scholar and dairy farmer from near the village of Kilmagany in South Kilkenny. And my Nuffield topic is looking at the use of clover in Irish grassland farms, and particularly looking at identifying the obstacles and the solutions to incorporating clover in Irish grassland farms. Sorry, my voice is misbehaving, so bear with us. So together with my wife Gail and our young family, we farm just outside Kilmagany, as I said, on a spring calving, grass and clover-based system with a long-term focus on sustainability. I was very fortunate at an early age to be given full management of my parents' farm, and it was in that first year of management that I got introduced to clover fully. And over the following years, I've made all the right and wrong decisions to incorporating clover within our own farm. As we do this, and we have other farmers and discussion groups looking for advice to how they might do it also. And this has brought us to a point of where I consider doing this Nuffield Scholarship, to look and see how we can show leadership to encourage other farmers to do the same, but also knowing that there's more scope within our system. So for those of you that aren't familiar, clover, both white and red, are parts of a group of plants in the family of legumes. And legumes have two benefits within agriculture. First, they're a high digestibility plant, which increase animal performance due to a thin cellular wall that helps that digestion. Secondly, is that they form an association with a bacteria called rhizobium. And this rhizobium is present in the nodules along the roots of the plant, which we can illustrate up here. What happens here is that the plant with the bacteria can take in the air from within the soil particles and make it available in the form of nitrogen to the plant. So the air that we're breathing here today contains 78% nitrogen, and was with the bacteria that it can be available. But when the plant is either grazed, cut, or walked on, this nitrogen can also be shared to other plants within the sward, such as grass and herbs. The main clover that's available, or most common within Ireland, is white clover. It is more persistent within grazing systems and suits it better. White clover originated sometime between 15 to 28,000 years ago during the last European Ice Age, when two clover varieties were pushed together to form what we have today. The other variety of clover that's becoming more familiar within Irish agriculture is red clover. Originally from Southeast Europe, it is more suitable to forage systems such as to both hay and silage. The difference between the two is that white clover, which is up here in the top corner, grows out along stolons, and that's how it spreads. Grows out from a central root plant, spreads along the ground and sets down different root intervals, and that helps with its persistency. Red clover grows more vertically, which is in the lower picture, but can be very prone to root damage, which kind of limits its use within grazing systems, but it also has a higher nitrogen fixation. So with my title chosen, I went looking at the objectives and the research questions I wish to follow. So first was to identify the current position within Ireland, both by visiting the highest performing farms incorporating clover, but also visiting research centres, specialists and advisors. Second was to identify the obstacles and the perceptions that limit clover uptake on non-clover farms. And with these two, to find easy on-farm management practices that would help to bridge those gaps. Fourthly was to look at a new future role of clover in Irish agriculture as a means of reducing overall greenhouse emissions from agriculture. One of the biggest emitters within Irish agriculture is nitric oxide, which is from the use of chemical fertilizers. And with nitrogen being, or with clover being a legume, this would limit the use of those. Finally was to identify a role of clover in the co-op's sustainability programs. And it was within these where the clover fits in, but also how these programs can be used to further knowledge transfer and potentially increase uptake. So like many scholars before me, I went out to travel and find those answers. I was very fortunate to visit a number of countries, including Germany, Canada, Singapore, Borneo, Denmark, Brazil, New South Wales, Tasmania, and extensively around England, Scotland, Wales, and here at home in Ireland. Some of the standout things that are the highlights from the travels was the use of clover within grazing systems. So here we have an organic dairy farm in Denmark using white and red clovers to drive production within this grass system. While also in Denmark, I saw a future potential role of clover as a means of growing it on as a break crop within arable sectors as a means to replace imported protein feeds. So here we have a piggery that is feeding their weanlings on a dry clover and grass mix. In New South Wales, on various grazing systems, I saw a diverse range of not alone clovers, but also legumes within the system. So here we have our traditional medium-leaf clover, which we're all familiar with in Ireland, but also small-leaf clovers, but also other legumes such as sandfile and birdfoot trefoil. In Tasmania, I saw the use of clover in multi-species swarts to build overall farm resilience. And here we have a small white-leaf clover plant as it starts to set out its roots and stolons. But the biggest lesson from all these bits that I've seen was how they can be implemented back here in Ireland. And as I went about starting to write my report and running the farm at home, it was hard not to think of how these can be implemented. So we started trying to do some of them ourselves. Some of the things we've done was including different legumes and clovers within our reseeding policy, but also here is the kind of the result of a conversation from a group of farmers in Tasmania. So here's our milking parlour with our feed delivery system, but the small pipe has just been added in. And this is to ease the on-farm management practices here at home. So while our cows are grazing high clover swarts, we have a risk of animal health in terms of rheumatic bloat. So this allows us to deliver accurate, precise measurements of oils to the cows to guaranteed intake to make sure our cows are safe while not increasing our workload. Some of the farms I visited, and I was very fortunate to meet farmers from all over the world, but people that stood out would be David and Philip Clark from County Fermanagh. And here's Philip looking quite proudly with his cows and clover. The Clarks are quite interesting in their mindset. They adopted clover in 2016 for the purpose solely of animal performance, to increase feed quality and increase milk yield. But in 2019, Northern Ireland had a reduction in their nitrates allowance from 250 kilos to 220 kilos to the hectare, just as we have here this spring. But the Clarks noticed that they were continuously growing the same amount of grass, even though they had reduced the overall amount of chemical nitrogen they were using within their system. Another step they've made as of last year was to incorporate red clover within their silage swarts. On the processor side, I'd introduce you to Clausen cheese in the UK. Here I was fortunate to meet Ruth Grace, a 2023 scholar from England that we originally met in Canada on our GFP, or CSC. Clausen cheese make a range of hard and soft cheeses, from cheddars right down to the likes of Blue Stilton and more traditional soft cheeses. 80% of their cheese is sold within the UK, and it was a conversation based with their customers that they developed their sustainability action plan called CARE 365. With the long-term aim of this is to reduce the carbon footprint emission of the kilo of milk solids from 1.08 on the base year 2022 to 0.76 by the year 2032. And within the program, Clover, it fits in a number of places. First was to increase the quality of their feed, reduce fertilizer usage, improve animal performance, increase biodiversity but also increase or improve soil health. The key standout messages from Clausen's was their one-to-one engagement with their farmers, which they had every 12 months, with a detailed greenhouse gas emission KPI report. So to conclusions. First, Clover still has a very important role within Irish agriculture. The farmers that are using Clover are very satisfied with the results they're achieving, but plan to increase larger areas of the farm into clover swarts. But clover needs a very different style of management to grass only, and it's a lesson we've learned here in Ireland this year. Soil fertility is still not being fully understood, and this was a message right from around a lot of advisors and agronomists I'd met. The mixed messages of the past have undermined farmers' confidence in implementing and managing clover, and clover seems to be an important role within the co-op's sustainability action programs. So to recommendations, I recommend a national plan to increase the use of legumes with the sole purpose of reducing our reliance on chemical fertilizer. This would have a benefit in terms of farm resilience, but also reducing our overall emissions from Irish agriculture. Key players in this should be the Department of Agriculture, but also the Department of Housing, as they have a direct input on the nitrates, and Department of Environment, and then feed in from Teagasc both on advisory and on research, but also members or organisations such as the Irish Grassland Association. We need to improve we need a joint-up advisory approach to get those key messages out to farms. Soil health and fertility, we need to work on continuous farm training to get those messages of getting the soil samples to actually actions out in the field. But also within this, the Irish fertiliser companies, we probably need to look at changing the blends of fertiliser we have to be more suitable for clover swarts, such as zero nitrogen blends. We need to look at a wider range of clovers and legumes within our swarts to get away from the medium leaf variety that we're currently more familiar with. And we need more workable ways of clover management on farm. This will allow farmers who are already under time restraints to manage clover and manage the issues around it, such as animal health and weed control. Next was to look at any farms under the stocking rate of 2.2, as long as their soil fertility, swart and clover content is right, seriously have to question any use of chemical nitrogen within their system. Finally, to the co-ops, that they should expand their sustainability program to include a tiered payment base level on participation. And there's a role within these programs to also assist in knowledge transfer and improve clover incorporation. Finally, I'd like to thank all our sponsors, particularly the Golden Jubilee Trust, which allowed it and make this happen, to Nuffield Ireland, to Joe, Catherine, to my mentor, Claire O'Keefe, to my reader, Matt Ryan and George Ramsbottom, for all the help along the way. I should also mention Bruce, who pushed quite a while to get me onto this stage eventually. And finally, to my wife and my family at home for everything that you've done, thank you very much. And even though this marks the end of my formal journey within Nuffield Ireland, the values of Nuffield itself will continue to benefit myself and my family for years to come. Thank you.